Welcome to Blackout Reads, a video series where I drink while reading cringy books out of hopes that I will not remember them tomorrow morning. Today I'll be playing a drinking game while reading Icebreaker, one of the hockey romance books of all time. As you can see, my copy of Icebreaker is pretty beat up. After reading the first half of the book, I just had to shoot pucks at it because it was so bad. This book is genuinely horrendous. Yeah, fans of this book did not like that video at all. I would apologize, but there's a good chance that I'm gonna have to do it again if the second half is any worse than the first half. But that's probably not gonna happen, right? I mean, the second half of this book can't possibly be worse than the first half, right? Right? Oh, it's awful. Now, if you didn't watch part one where I read the first half of Icebreaker, don't worry, I'm gonna summarize what happens here. Although, to be honest, pretty much nothing happens in the first half of this book. So basically there's this girl, Anastasia, who has like a million nicknames, who's really, really good at figure skating. And she has this figure skating partner, Aaron, who's like really controlling over her because he's clearly obsessed with her. But she doesn't see it in the first half of the book because for some reason she's oblivious. Anyway, Anastasia's school that she figure skates for while she's trying to make the Olympics also has a hockey team, and that's where we meet Nate. Nate likes to say the word shit a lot. Anastasia thinks he's really, really hot, and oh, he's the captain of the hockey team, and every 5 pages we get reminded of that. The main plot of the story is somebody sabotages one of the rinks, and as a result, the hockey team and the figure skating team have to work together on the same rink. This causes Anastasia to pretend to hate Nate for a couple chapters, but ultimately she instantly falls in love with him because she just can't resist his beautiful hockey captain muscles. Of course, Anastasia could have any boy in the school she wanted, and Nate could have any girl he wanted, but they chose each other. Now, where I left off the last video, they were all at some really expensive club for some reason, and then Aaron came in and claimed that Nate broke his arm. And although it was pretty clear that Nate didn't break his arm, he lied and said he did break the arm because for some reason the hockey coach wasn't going to let any of the players play hockey until he figured out who did it. So as a result, now Nate can't play hockey and Anastasia doesn't know what to think. Yes, in this entire chunk of book, that's pretty much all that happened, except there were like multiple chapters where they were also planning some sort of birthday party for some reason. But other than that, nothing happened in this half of the book. Oh wait, I almost completely forgot. Anastasia and Nate got really freaky for the first time in an Uber while all their friends were there and like listening. Yeah, now every time I get into an Uber, I think of this disaster of a book. But who knows, perhaps the second half will be better. Now for the drinking game, I've really simplified things because last time I could barely read a page without having to take a sip. I will take 1 sip every time there's a spicy scene between Anastasia and Nate. I will take a sip of my drink every time I need a break from cringe. I will take a sip every time Nate says shit. And finally, I will take a sip every single time alcohol is mentioned. One thing I really took away from the first half of the book is it really has these Disney Channel vibes, but they do want to make it clear that like it's adults and it's college, so they drink, but like the parties kind of have like a Disney feel to them. It's very strange. Now moving forward with the Blackout Read series, what I really want to do is have the drinks that I'm drinking go with the book I'm reading for the video. Almost all the books I'll be reading for this series are trending on TikTok, and as a result there is infinite amounts of content on these books. I mean, people are making all these crazy drink combinations that go with the themes of the books. I'll definitely be trying that in the future. Speaking of which, let me know what books you want to see me do next in this series. I'm definitely thinking of doing Twilight at some point, maybe Haunting Adeline, although I don't really know if I want to read that, though I can be convinced in the comments. So let me know in the comments what books you want to see me read next. But yeah, I definitely want to have like themed drinks for these books. I think it really makes the video come together. And I can also tell you how the drink tastes as part of the video. However, since I am short on cash right now, and I do think it'll go well with this disaster of a book, I decided I'll be drinking a Four Loko for this video. I'll be reading a Four Loko. Icebreaker is a book that even though it's clearly for adults and marketed for adults due to its adult content, it's kind of written like it's for children. And like that, Four Loko is a drink that has alcohol. It is for adults. Of course, drink legally and responsibly. But that being said, Four Loko kind of tastes like it's for children. There, everyone on Bookstagram got mad because I just shot pucks at the book and I didn't give an actual review. Icebreaker is the Four Loko of hockey romance. Let's get reading, shall we? So I'm just 2 pages in where I left off, and Nate goes, "I'm still allowed to think of you when I off, right?" Oh man, I just remembered I had like a really bad experience with this flavor. Also, as much as I was ripping on it, I really forgot just how bad the writing of this book is. Also, what I forgot to mention in my summary is because Aaron can't do figure skating because he broke his wrist, and Anastasia needs a partner, and Nate can't play hockey because he can't return to the rink until Aaron's wrist is healed. He has volunteered to help be Anastasia's figure skating partner. We're finding out right here that she's saying she's not going to do anything with him until after the competition. And I'm going to make a bet with you guys that that's not going to last 15 pages. Honestly, and it's still early, I'm pretty sure the whole hockey player does figure skating thing actually was done in Big Time Rush, and it was done a lot better than this. Big Time Rush was like my favorite show when I was a kid. Carlos is my guy. I'm more worried about him getting a boner, Henry adds, concentrating on getting his pamphlet edges straight. He's like a horny little dog around Stacey. Hannah Grace. What is the dialogue in this book? I genuinely, I was gonna drink for cringe, but I guess that counts as like dirty. I don't know. I'm drinking for something. I guess it's both. This is the next page after the previous line, by the way. So the whole point of this rule where they're not allowed to have sex until after the competition is so they can focus. Meanwhile, both of them have just been talking about sex in their meetings the entire time. Like, it's just so stupid. Like this book is stupid. And as I said in the previous video, I do want to emphasize I have nothing against romance books. I have nothing against spice in books. It's just this book has no sense of a plot. There's just never anything that seems to be happening. It's just these characters talking about absolute nonsense with the most cringe dialogue ever and plot points that kind of just force the story to exist, because really this story has no reason to exist other than Anastasia and Nate being extremely horny. Like, that's it. And even that writing just is not that strong. Like, even the writing in the smutty scenes, the scenes are there, but it's just, I know I'm not the target audience and maybe I just don't get it, but even I feel like that writing just leaves a lot to be desired, if that makes sense. Anastasia's decision to not do anything with Nate until after the competition is a great example of this book really having nothing to push it forward. So Hannah Grace just kind of makes some melodrama between the two characters that kind of forces some sort of conflict. Even though we know as the reader that this is going to be resolved within 5 minutes because it's all the characters can think of. It just, there's no actual plot or really anything interesting driving the story. This book is extremely dependent on this relationship dynamic between Nate and Anastasia, and the problem is neither one of them is a very interesting character. And maybe that's the point. Some people like it because Anastasia has so little personality that she's kind of a self-insert. But then my problem with Nate is his only personality is that he's obsessed with Anastasia. And maybe that's just it. Maybe that's why people like reading books like this. Let me know in the comments if you like this book, Icebreaker, or books like it. Let me know what you like about them. And I'm not going to make fun of what you like and stuff like that. I don't think there's any point to that. If you like reading something, good for you. I totally understand that some people like this book. I'm not doing this to make fun of you. I just kind of want to understand what it is about books like Icebreaker that really make people fall in love with them and make them go TikTok famous, because I just frankly don't get it. And you know what? Moving forward in this video, I'm going to continue to make fun of Icebreaker, and that is not an attack against the people who like this book, and that is also not an attack against Hannah Grace. Ha ha ha, we can see Nate's penis through his leggings. It would be funnier if we haven't been talking about Nate wearing leggings since like the start of this whole arc. One thing I've noticed about this book, and it's really bothering me, is there's a couple instances where there's a scene that might be interesting, and then the next chapter, that scene happened 2 weeks ago, and it's just summarized. For example, Anastasia has a fight with her partner and roommate Aaron about how much she's eating because he wants to keep her small or whatever. He's a weird guy. Definitely the villain of this story. I caught it on page 1. I mean, go back to the first video. I called it right away. Anyway, they have this fight, and she's really upset, and like she goes to Nate to feel better about it. And you think that would be a good scene with him making her feel better about it. But then the next chapter is 2 weeks ago she came to me for this, and he just summarizes it. And it's like, out of all like the nothing scenes in this book, you think now there's actually something worth writing, worth like kind of exploring to deepen the relationship of these characters, and you just skip past it. Like, it's like I don't get it. I don't get that. Like I'm cringing just because like why? Like that's an opportunity to make this a little more readable. Like if you focus more on that, you can have that be the main plot point right now, and not this weird, stupid, no sex pact between Anastasia and Nate, which is probably gonna break within the next 10 pages. It's been 5 pages since I predicted it's not gonna last. We'll see if I was correct. No shit. Nate said shit. In all honesty, he's probably said it like 11 times already. I've just missed it, but I caught this one, so that's a drink. So in this scene, Nate's father comes back from Canada to talk to Nate and like confront him. Apparently his sister wants to quit skiing or something. I didn't even know Nate had a sister until here. But it's so cringe because it just doesn't read like actual dialogue. Forget about like father and son, and like, you know, the father and son dialogue has a dynamic. It doesn't read like dialogue between people. Like it, I can't describe like how awful it is. It's just making me cringe. Like, yeah, it's rough. Like I can't picture real people ever talking like this at all. And to be fair, all the dialogue in this book is absolutely horrendous. But this dialogue between like the father and son is just especially dreadful. The story has once again brought up the fact that Nate has to wear shorts because his wee-wee is too big for his tights as a figure skater. I mean, it wouldn't be a romance story without a massive wiener. Honestly, with the amount that these romance novels talk about this, I think someone should make like a bracket between like a bunch of romance novels about like which main character has like the biggest wiener. I don't know. I don't know why I thought of that, but maybe I'll do that. Maybe if I read enough of these, I might make a bracket about which one had the nicest wiener. Based on these descriptions so far, I feel like Nate would do pretty well. Although, to be fair, I don't know how he can compete as a human with like the monsters, you know, like the monster romance with like the monster wieners. It's I mean, hey, everyone likes to read about different things, so each their own. Some people really like to read about wieners. I like to read about planet-destroying weapons. It's just preference. I'm kind of cringing here because at this point in the book, it feels like Hannah Grace is trying so hard to make it obvious that Aaron is this bad, manipulative, controlling person. And that's fine. Like, I've kind of seen that from this character from the beginning. But I actually kind of appreciated it more, like, in the first, like, 2 chapters of the book when it was there, but, like, it wasn't right in front of you. You as the reader kind of had to see it for yourself. The way this is being spelled out at this point with an entire page of him being just like a complete freaking controlling asshole after 3 other pages of him being a controlling asshole, it feels like it's just trying to be too obvious, and like there's no trust for the readers to read between the lines. I just feel like this depiction would be so much better if he was depicted in a more, you know, deceptive way where like he was still being manipulative, but it wasn't so like alarm blinking red flag painfully obvious that he was being manipulative. I just feel like that would be more interesting. Like, I guess I'm cringing at this point because this is just getting annoying. Like, at this point, the fact that Anastasia even talks to this person is absolutely ridiculous. So they're playing a drinking game, and Anastasia goes, "To even our odds, Nate's drink is twice as strong as mine. Not that he's noticed." Are you drugging Nate? Is that what you're doing here? I'm just kidding, but they are drinking, which means I get to drink too. I do also find it really funny how this book will sometimes go from an almost emotionally impactful scene. It's not an emotionally impactful scene because it's just like too poorly written to have any depth. But the character, like Anastasia, realistically should be feeling some sort of turmoil, like right now. And then like the next scene is like, so the next day we went to a party, and it's like there's no, like, things in this book just happen. They don't build upon each other. The scenes don't complement each other at all. It's just like one thing happens, and then the next thing happens, and then the next thing like it's the structure is not great. On the bright side, though, I'm now drinking for all 4 rules, and I still have half a can left. Remember how I said earlier that this book has like a Disney college vibe, in the sense where like they're talking about sex and there's like drinking going on, but nothing they do really resembles what anyone does in college. Well, now they're playing Never Have I Ever, and it is the most dramatic, like Disney-esque, like stupid story, like trying to give this chapter substance, even though really at this point in the story nothing is going on except Anastasia and Nate just slowly practicing figure skating, but there's really nothing driving the plot. So of course something's gonna happen in this game to like make some sort of new melodrama, on top of the fact that they can't sleep with each other until the end of the competition because I don't know, like it just, like, nothing about this scene reads anything like what would happen in college. It's weird. And sure, you can play different games in college, but like this scene just reads like, like that classic like high school party spin the bottle game. Like that's what this reads like. And it's so cringe. Like it's just I'm genuinely stunned right now that I am reading a book that was published and not fan fiction read by a 13-year-old who just watched a high school romance Disney movie. Like, frankly, that's the best way I can put it. Like that's what it feels like. This is a fan fiction written by someone who just watched High School Musical 2. That's pretty much the best way I can describe this. I almost forgot to drink. The best part. I mean, the whole point of this video is to hopefully not remember this scene tomorrow, which unfortunately I'm only going to be drinking this in this video, so I almost definitely am going to remember this tomorrow, unless maybe I'll get lucky and like slip on my head before I make it to my bed. So the Never Have I Ever scene ends with the game continues, and naturally the guys use it as a way to air out each other's indiscretions. I know I was complaining about the Never Have I Ever scene before, but at least I thought it'd be a good opportunity to get like some sort of humor. Like I didn't expect like grade A humor, especially coming out of this book at this point, but I feel like it could have at least been an opportunity to have some funny or awkward moments between characters. Ending the game like that, just like, oh, they talked about cringe things they did in the past, and not at least taking the opportunity to write some absurd things where they're like, what, you actually did that? That's insane. Like, it just seems like, I don't even want to say wasted opportunity, because there really is no opportunity in this book at this point, but at least make me chuckle. Like, give me something other than what I know is just going to be a page where Anastasia and Nate have 3 drinks and they just can no longer resist each other. I'm guessing that's what's happening. If I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen, because that just seems to be how this book goes. I would say it's one-dimensional, but that would be implying that it has a dimension, which it doesn't. It does not have a dimension. It does not exist in this plane of existence. Oh, I'm gonna die. So Anastasia's friend Lola, in this scene, this is like the first time we've seen her. Since I picked up reading from the halfway point, she just has not been in the book at all, and then she just seemed to teleport into this scene right here. It's just so strange, because I remember her being like prominent in like chapter 2, and then she just vanished and now she's like back here as if she never left. I feel like that's just like, I don't know. That's maybe it's just me. Like, I picked up halfway after putting this book down for a month. Maybe I just forgot a little bit about like the side characters, but it really felt like she just vanished and then she's back in the party when Anastasia needs someone to talk to. Very unusual, kind of cringe, but maybe I'm just drunk. It could just be that she's been in like the past 5 pages and like I haven't recognized her name because Four Locos be hidden. I will say between the Four Loko in the book, genuinely enjoying the Four Loko more, which not great for the book because this is pretty gross. This flavor watermelon was not the move. The purple flavor, I do like the purple flavor. The purple flavor would have been the move. I feel like I'm starting to sweat out Four Loko. This scene goes, I feel like one of those cartoon characters where their eyes spring out of their head. Say you're joking right now. Nothing against that line. That's just how I feel every single time I see an absolutely terrible paragraph in this book. It just doesn't feel real. It almost feels like this copy of Icebreaker is not real, and this is like some fake version of it that somebody sent to me just to see how I react to the worst book ever written. That's how it feels. It is the real Icebreaker. Like, I got it off Amazon. It's real, but it doesn't feel real. This all feels like a really elaborate prank. And if this is a really elaborate prank, well done. Well done. I think I'm going insane, but I don't know if it's the Four Loko or just like the nonsense I've been reading for like the past... It's only been 35 pages. Oh, man. I can't do a part 3. I have to finish it. And honestly, at this point, I feel like I need to know how it ends. Before, I was content not reading the rest of Icebreaker. But now I kind of have to know. Typically when you read a really good book, there's so much promise in like the first few chapters that you need to know how it all ends, like how it all comes together. You need to know what happens next because there was so much promise to you in the hook. With this book, there has been so little promise to you. Like there has been absolutely no substance that I have to know where it goes because I need to know what filled this many pages. There are a lot of pages left, and I need to know how possibly this book lingers for another 100 or so pages. I have to know. Like there has to be something. Like there has to be some sort of plot at some point, right? Why did I do this myself? I could have come up with so many different video series about books, and this is what I did. If my parents ever find this channel, they're going to be so disappointed. But they will be a little less disappointed if I have more subscribers. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't liked this video yet, you should like this video because I put a lot of effort into it. Okay. Not that much effort. I kind of just decided to do this at 1 a.m. and kind of roll with it. But I put some effort in. I mean, reading Icebreaker is not easy. So, especially if you're one of those people who's watching this video instead of reading Icebreaker because you know how bad it's going to be, I feel like I deserve a like. Like, I've put in the work. Also, I spent $10 on this book, so the least you can do is like the video. I mean, it's just common courtesy. So, there's a new character, Kitty, or whatever, who slept with Aaron, apparently. I actually genuinely do not care. I'm sure this will relate to something. Or maybe not. Sometimes stuff gets brought up in this book, and you never see it again. But my point is every single time there's a new character in this book, every single time, like for every single character, it starts with like a paragraph or two summarizing who they are, and like their relationship with everybody and how they met. Like it's just like a summary, like just straight up, this is Kitty. We met Kitty freshman year. This she did this. Like, there's got to be a better way to introduce. I know there are better ways to introduce characters. It's just one character here and there. Fine. I don't expect. I'm not a big. oh, you always have to show, not tell. There are points that telling is okay. But the entire book, like I said before, I mean, half the chapters are just summarizing what happened the past month. Enough. Yeah, like have something happen in real time other than two characters making jokes about sex, because that's what this is. It's not even, maybe it gets crazy at the end. Other than the Uber scene and one other scene in this book, everyone always hates on this book, especially people who are just so close-minded. They hate this book for it being like all sex. I mean, maybe it gets really smutty at the end, but for the record, there have only been 2 scenes so far where there has been real like smut involved. The rest has just been like characters just like having conversations like about stuff. Like nothing actually happens in the book. Like this is not like this super dirty, like the most disturbing, like dirty scenes ever. Like, and that's what really confuses me, because considering how poor the writing is, I kind of expected that element to be there just to give someone something. Even that is not really all that present. I mean, I've read several romance books for challenges that have been significantly more in that whole smut area in significantly less words. This book is just like, when I say nothing is happening, I don't mean like, oh, the entire book is just these characters do it and then this happens and then these characters do it and it's just like this super dirty book, and like I don't like it because it's just like no plot. No, I mean nothing happens. Like nothing. Like there are maybe 3 action scenes, 2 smut scenes, 1 scene that kind of relates to the plot, and other than that, this book is just summaries of a year in college. Only all the scenes that could be remotely interesting are summarized over. That is Icebreaker. That is the book. I don't think there's a better way to describe this book than that. It's just nothing. It is nothing summarized. So Nate wakes up in the next chapter hungover, which I guess I'll drink to because alcohol is mentioned, I guess. And, I'm just trying to get this finished at this point. And he opens one message, sees a video of what he did last night, which is walk through the party in his underwear like a blacked out baby. And you know what? I can kind of relate to waking up after a night out, seeing one video, and not wanting to open the rest of the messages on my phone for a good day or so. So I will drink because of alcohol as mentioned, and just, I actually relate to this. I think this is the first part of this book that feels remotely realistic. So kudos, I guess. It only took, what is this, 247 pages to have a scene that seems like it could happen in real life. I'm honestly just impressed that it happened. Also, I am going to defend Nate here a little bit. Anastasia did cheat in the drinking game, putting more alcohol in Nate's drinks. And then she was annoyed that he got drunk. Technically, it's her fault. So, Nate did nothing wrong. Defending Nate here. I forgot how much the group text scenes in this book make me cringe. I just hate looking at emojis in a book. I don't know what it is. There's nothing wrong with it if you're like depicting text. It's realistic. Although the actual messages in the text aren't. But I don't know. Every single time this Puck Bunnies group text comes up, which that's what it's called. It's called Puck Bunnies, which cringe name, cringe group chat, cringe drink. I genuinely hate how many times I've said the word cringe referencing this book in this video, but I feel like that's the only word that describes it. Here Nate goes, "Oh great, I'm a meme now. Welcome to my world, Nate. Welcome to my world. What if I get attacked by a mountain lion and it eats off my face? Will you still like me then? This reminds me of like that stupid question that's like popular. Would you still love me if I was a worm? No. I have never, ever had any romantic feelings towards a worm ever. So, no. If you were a worm, I would not love you. Although, if you were like attacked by a mountain lion, I guess we could work through that. I mean, you're still the person you were when I fell in love with you. Although, I do have to know whether or not you were goading like the lion. Because if you were kind of like getting all close to a mountain lion trying to like film a TikTok, like not respecting nature, that's kind of an ick. So in that case, I might not love you anymore, but like not because of like your face got mauled, but because, you didn't respect nature and you were like getting in the lion's face, and I'm kind of siding with the mountain lion. I don't know how this bit got so off topic, but we're going to continue on with the video and pretend that this didn't happen. Anastasia goes, I suppose, I don't know. I'm not too worried about him joining the mafia or having to only wear a clown suit for the rest of his life. So, I mean, it's not real, is it? She's referring to how she'll like Nate so long as he's nice to her and he's not in the mafia. And to that I say, I have a feeling we're going to be doing a lot of mafia romance videos in the future in this series. So I guess maybe that shouldn't be a deal breaker, honestly, Anastasia. So what if he's in the mafia? Also, when we do start doing those mafia romance videos, do not be surprised if I do impersonations of Sopranos characters and litter those videos with Sopranos memes. Sorry, not sorry. Sopranos memes are really funny. And yeah, just so you know, those videos are probably coming, and that's what you should expect. So if you have any mafia romance recommendations that were popular on TikTok that you think I would absolutely hate, drop them in the comments. Thank you. And I'm sorry in advance for the quality of those videos and for this video. Quality is not gonna be great. So a quick update on what's happening in the book. She's having trouble trusting Nate to catch her in their figure skating move. So Nate rents out the entire swimming pool to practice catching her to show that she can trust him. And her friend packs the most skimpy bathing suit possible. And now Nate is just talking about how hot she is. We have a quote of all time. You can't show me anything I haven't seen. You've used my face as a seat, Anastasia. I'm a big fan of your work. Arguably, your biggest fan. I have no words at this point. I feel like the quotes speak for themselves. The commentary is not needed. I miss my legs being slung over his shoulder. Anastasia about Nate. It's the same thing as like the first half of the book where she was pretending to hate him even though she had no reason to. The only reason why you can't just do whatever you want to with Nate is because you're being annoying. Like, there's no... Oh god, it's just stupid. It's stupid. Ugh. Really quickly, this background behind me works really well for this video because it is the New York Islanders logo, a hockey team. And this is a book that is slightly about hockey. I feel like hockey has been referenced like 4 times, and it's only referenced to talk about how hot Nate is. But the point is, while it's good for this video in general, I feel like this room and my setup is not the best for writing content. So let me know in the comments how I can improve this tapestry, or if you have any ideas on what I can do for the backgrounds to make my videos more writer friendly. I'm always looking to improve my videos, and I appreciate any comment that says anything about how I can improve, or any tips or any complaints. I'm very open into improving my videos. If you look at the first videos I made on this channel, they were an absolute disaster, and I've definitely come a long way. If you check those out, don't look at them. They're really embarrassing. I keep them up more so authors can kind of see where I started to know that they can start their own channels too, and it's okay if it doesn't start perfect. That being said, if you have any tips or any ideas on what you want to see with a future studio, aka background, love to know your thoughts in the comments below. So, I was wrong. I predicted that Nate and Anastasia would not be able to resist each other for 15 pages. It turns out they held out for a full 49 pages before they did it again. I was wrong. I thought it would be a lot quicker than it was. Considering they're doing it, though, I have to take a drink. With that, that's going to do it for the drinking game as I finish the Four Loko. So playing this game with 4 rules, this can last for a grand total of 49 pages. At this point in the video, I've decided to put on my helmet because that's what Carlos from Big Time Rush would do. And I love Carlos from Big Time Rush. Also, I feel like the helmet will protect me from the terrible writing that is going to be the conclusion of this awful book. Here it goes. How can you still think about Christmas when I just made you come twice? I wish I could say that Icebreaker ruined Christmas for me, but no. For my Christmas special, I read a short book about Krampus punishing bad girls, and that has ruined Christmas for me forever. So I guess credit for Icebreaker for not being as traumatizing as the Krampus book. That Christmas episode was pretty rough. I regret making that. I'm not gonna lie, the cage does make it significantly harder to read words. Yes, I'm sure part of this is the Four Loko, but yeah, like every time I move my head, the cage is wiping through the words. It makes for difficult reading. Also, just based on this scene, I'm guessing, and if I get this right, I deserve a medal. I am guessing this book is going to end with a surprise pregnancy. I think you just gave me my Christmas present. Merry Christmas, I suppose. Yeah, I miss when they were pretending like they couldn't do things with each other because of the book needed a plot point. Also, yes, for those of you wondering, this helmet does smell funny. So I know I've been drinking, but one issue I really have with this book is when Nathan is not constantly saying the word shit or thinking about Anastasia's ass, it's really hard to tell whose head you're in. And I think that just shows how poorly these two characters are developed. Especially, I understand like some books when you have like 5 or 6 heads that you're jumping through, it can be hard to really differentiate between 6 characters. In this book, you get Anastasia's point of view and you get Nathan's point of view. It should be really easy to tell the difference between the two, but especially when they're living in the same house, it's really difficult to tell whose head you're in until you see like Nathan say the word shit or reference Stacey. Because if it's a Nate character, if it's a Nate chapter, I apologize, he calls her Stacey. Otherwise, Anastasia's obviously not going to say her name. Other than that, it is nearly impossible to tell who is talking. And that just shows how underdeveloped these two characters are. Their whole personalities are just that they're obsessed with each other. It's just not good writing. Like that's my biggest gripe with this book. It's nothing about anything. I mean, there are plenty of other issues, don't get me wrong, but this is clearly a book that is centered between these two characters' relationships. And yet these two characters are not even fleshed out enough to have their own identities. Like that is the biggest issue with Icebreaker. There are infinitely more issues with Icebreaker. Frankly, if I made a video about all the issues I have with Icebreaker, it would be infinite. I would never stop making the video. The video would never come out because I would never finish making it. But that's got to be, at least in my opinion, the biggest issue. That this is not a plot-driven novel. And I'm not the type of snob to say, like, oh, if you don't have a driven novel, you don't have a novel. No, you can have a novel based on the relationship between two characters. But then those two characters have to have a really interesting relationship that's really fleshed out. Um, these two characters' biggest personality traits is that they're obsessed with each other. That's not that's not a character, honestly. It's it's not. Okay, the helmet was fun, but I genuinely cannot read with this thing at all. It is like interrupting every single space. It's hell. Also, it's kind of hot, but not in the sense of like, Anastasia constantly calling Nate hot. It's physically hot. So I have about 100 pages left. In typical Icebreaker fashion, there's currently absolutely nothing happening. Currently, he is going home with her to meet her parents. And honestly, there has been no reference to him being suspended from playing hockey at all. You think this would be a really important thing for Nate, considering he's trying to make the NHL and like he can't play in games. But this has really just not been mentioned since it was a plot tool in the first half of the novel. Frankly, I even forgot that he was a hockey player because it just doesn't really seem relevant beyond him being in skates on the front cover. Frankly, there are more dirty scenes in the second half than there were in the first half. So if that is something you like, keep that in mind. Although it took so long to get to the second half of this book, I can't imagine it's even worth it. Like I'm really trying to understand what the appeal of this book for so many people was, and I just can't figure it out. Other than giving a minor update on what's been happening in this book, because I feel like it's been so many pages since my last update, I really started recording to note that she has yet another nickname. I know the drink game is over, so I don't have to drink for that rule. I don't think I drank that rule in this video. I think that was the last video. But her parents call her Annie. So how many nicknames can this girl possibly have? It's so every single character calls her something else for some reason. Oh, I almost forgot. There was one other scene that happened that was notable. All the hockey guys kind of fought with Aaron because he said some things about Anastasia. And then we got this really awkward dialogue sequence where they tell her what he said about her. But it's just not well written to the fact where it just doesn't feel like a real conversation at all. Also, like a lot of the lines that he said were like pretty cringe, honestly. I'm assuming like with most things that happen in this book, it's just gonna keep on going and kind of forget what happens in the previous chapter, other than what's going on in Anastasia and Nathan's relationship. But who knows? That might be setting up for a grand finale. But at this point, I have absolutely zero hopes. I'd be shocked if we get a single scene in this book at this point where there's like actually a hockey game going on or really anything relevant to what was the plot in the beginning of the story. Like what like wasn't like the initial inciting incident being like the rink was broken down, like that whole element of the story is completely gone at this point. Yeah, most of the plot points in this story just conveniently evaporate when they are no longer necessary. So I finally did it. I finished reading Icebreaker, and frankly, I really don't know what to say. First, I'm trying to really quickly think of anything important that happened before the end. She fell into ice, and Nate saved her. They both met each other's parents. Those scenes kind of dragged on, to be honest. The ice scene was kind of interesting. I think that was actually the most interesting part of the book, although it just kind of felt at that point that there was just being as many tropes that we could possibly get thrown at us, which really ties into the ending of the book, which I guess I shouldn't be surprised about, but yeah, I can see why some people would just roll their eyes at it. Well, the epilogue, not the ending. The ending actually wasn't that bad. There was a final confrontation with Aaron kissing Anastasia, and then Nate comes in, punches him, whatever. Everything gets tied up. She decides to go on and figure skate on her own, which is a decision that, frankly, it has been infuriating that it's taken her this long to make. There was some brief references to like the rink plot. Nate's hockey career is briefly mentioned as well. It seems like even though like the book didn't focus on any of these things, it did kind of bring them up in the end to kind of bring things together. Although I still really wonder like what even happened for the majority of this book. Still, the ending did kind of do the best job it possibly could at kind of tying up this book that really it just seemed that things just happened without any reason to any of them or really any build up. I think what I liked about the whole Anastasia falling into the ice scene is it's the really only point in the book where there's any actual tension. I understand it's a romance book. There doesn't have to be any high stakes or anything. But at points, it was just stuff just happened. There really was no build up. Even when Anastasia would be angry at Nate or something, it'd be something so minor that as the reader, it just didn't feel that interesting. I really have nothing else to say about this book. There's really only one way I feel I can properly review it. Before I do take this book outside, though, and shoot pucks at it, though, I do want to talk about some things that I found problematic. In part one, I did mention how I feel like this cover does not really do a good indication of saying what the content of this book is. In addition, I've been looking at this for a couple weeks now, and I still can't really find any sort of rating system or just warning that lets people know that there is spice in the book. Yes, I knew it was going to have spice because it was popular in book talk and people were talking about it, but I do find it a little concerning that there's just nothing that hints at that on the cover. I mean, look at the cover. This looks like a very sweet cover, and especially, I mean, there are curse words that do give it away in the beginning, but like the way it's written also, it just kind of hints at this younger vibe, which I definitely think is a concern. However, there is another thing in this book that I noticed that is a bit problematic, so I thought I would bring it up. I feel like this book does not handle a couple topics very well. One, I found a lot of Anastasia's therapy sessions, at least in the earlier half of the book, to be really unrealistic and just not a good depiction of that. But more concerningly, I found like there were some scenes when Anastasia has an eating disorder put onto her by her terrible partner, Aaron. And just the way she kind of overcomes that by just having Nate tell her, oh, you need to eat more. I feel like that doesn't shine the best light on eating disorders and kind of undermines a real serious issue that a lot of people deal with. However, while I did have some issues with those depictions, I do want to give credit to Hannah Grace for incorporating some of these issues into the story. It just feels like the whole story in general was not very well written, honestly. With that, I think it's time for my final review of Icebreaker from the perspective of a hockey player.